Hey, how's it going?
Good man. How are you? Do you prefer Mike or Michael?
Doesn't matter. You can go with Mike, I guess.
Cool. I like the
Yeah.
artwork in the back.
Thank you. Yeah. This is we're in like an office building, so
Yeah.
this is just one of the conference rooms. I have other people working in our office. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Speaking of artwork, I gotta ask,
Yeah.
why did you remove the beaver from your logo?
How did you find that? That's funny. That's old. So I had that created a long time ago when I first started the company. I don't even think I was licensed yet. Paid like a
Yeah.
newspaper to create an ad,
Yep.
and they're like, "You need a logo." And they came up with that. So that is, I don't know. I never really liked it. So
I was a fan. I liked it.
yeah, I don't know. The name stuck kind of. They're like, I opened it up as an excavation company, right? So I figured a beaver would be good, and the Ground Busters. Now, kind
Yep.
of, we built the brand, so we're kind of stuck with the name. Changed the logo.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see your excavation, landscape, handyman is a bit of a mix.
We are not excavation actually. So we have three separate divisions. So essentially
Okay.
three different businesses in one. I've actually built them out where they have general managers and everything,
Hmm.
different, different employees and whatnot. Yeah, so we have landscaping, just do basic landscaping,
Hmm.
cleanups and whatnot, mulching and routine contracts. Handyman, where we work for a lot of property management companies, a lot of real estate agencies do, minor repairs. Then we have the carpentry crew that deals with very large remodels, large scale, like 500,000, you know,
Hmm.
$800,000 remodels and whatnot. So do
And
fences and
does
deck.
Does the handyman general manager, is he handling the carpentry too, or is that someone else?
Nope. It's a totally different division. We were able to separate that out as of last year. So we have a
Okay.
designer on staff too as well. So we custom, we're a design build on that side.
Yeah.
So yeah, of
Cool. And then I want to jump into that, but first I want to know,
course.
why did you start the company? Did you have a background in this?
No, I was actually going to school for a doctor and got married. My wife's father-in-law was a carpenter by trade, and
Hmm.
I needed some extra money on the weekend, so I went with him to I think it was painting, and like I was like, man, he's making $50, $60 an hour, and yeah,
Yeah.
so chose that route. I didn't want to be $500,000 of debt, make $50 to $60 an hour doing this. No real experience in it. I mean, even growing up, I don't know, mowed the lawn maybe twice.
Hmm.
Not familiar with tools, and put that up on Craigslist. I will do stuff for labor, and yeah, I found the place. Learned my way through it. So
How far along in your schooling did you get?
just a couple of years. It wasn't too long. I didn't even earn a degree or anything. And then my wife got pregnant with her first kid. I'm like, man, I gotta make a choice. It's either 6 years
Yeah.
of struggling and suffering, or trying to yeah, trying to make something of myself and not wait 6 years to do it. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
hey, and then what did those first couple years look like? Like, when do you feel like you really got an understanding of how this business worked and what it looked like
Huh?
before that?
Yeah, that's was probably I would say last year or the year before is finally when I realized like, hey, this is how a business works. So it first started off me just putting ads up on Craigslist.
Hmm.
Had a business partner there, which anybody does that. It's not. I don't know. I'm never going to go down that route again. Should have did it more formally, but did not work out well. Yeah, borrowed a truck from his truck, and yeah, did scoop manure on the first job. And yeah, I finally learned last year, I want to say, is when I finally learned that you need systems in place and all that. Because I had, I think it was
Hmm.
a $600,000 business trying to get out of my house with a little, 10 by 10 shed with everything. People were coming there, no systems in place. I was
Yeah.
managing everything. And yeah, what it looked like in the early days was me just working, 80-hour, 100-hour weeks, holding down a full-time job,
Hmm.
getting off of work at 6 at night, working till midnight out at someone's house, digging or whatever I needed to do
Hmm.
to make it work, and working on weekends. Yeah.
Now, was your wife's father, was he working with you, or did you just work with him beforehand in the carpentry and then did your own thing?
I worked with him beforehand in the
Okay.
carpentry, and he does work for us every once in a while now. I'm trying to get him to switch all the way over, but he's loyal to his other business, which I can respect. So
Yep.
he's been with them for 30 years, one of the top people there. But at some point, fingers crossed, he's a great carpenter that he'll come join us. So
So that's cool. So he actually really likes that what you've done then, how you've branched off and built your own business.
he does, yeah, and he's tried it. He tried it when he was, roughly my age, like 30 now, and yeah, ended
Hmm.
up, not working out. So yeah, he definitely respects that I've done this and gone this far.
Cool. And then, so what was the breaking point last year that made you realize I need to develop systems, I need to focus on this business?
Yeah, it was me constantly getting phone calls nonstop and trying to do estimates and managing 8 employees at one time. Just the overwhelming workload and looking at profit and loss and not seeing any money coming in. Just had to systematize it. If I was going to grow any further, past 1 million, I need to systematize. Probably should have did it at 100, 200,000. Honestly, would have been great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the turning point there. It's like, man, I can't keep going like this. It's just not going to work. It's just barely going to get by, not be able to expand. So
Yeah. And once
yeah.
you realized that, what did you do? Like, did you have a mentor? Were you listening to books? Like, how did you come to that conclusion? I need to systematize this business. And what did you do about it?
So first was YouTube. Keith Kalfas, I think was the
Uh-huh.
first one that I watched on YouTube. I didn't realize there was a whole community out there, for
Hmm.
landscaping and business entrepreneurs. When Keith Kalfas found Mike Andes, of course, kind of watched those videos, then got a local mentor, like a business coach here,
Hmm.
but he wasn't involved in the service industry. So I learned as much as I could from him. Then moved on and, eventually found EOS systems and
Yeah.
operating systems, all that good stuff. So that was kind of the turning point was YouTube. I just started researching how to make business profitable. I think Keith Kalfas was the first one that came up, watched this video, like, man, this guy makes sense. And where have I been? And turned to Mike Andes as well, turned into that. Yeah.
Hmm.
The rest is history from there and reached out, tried to find people that knew what they were doing because I had no
It's
idea.
funny. And you're in Bellingham, Washington.
I
Had you
am. Yeah.
heard of Mike Andes before? Or were you like, oh my God, this guy's in my town and now I see him on YouTube?
I've heard of Augusta, but no,
Yep.
I didn't hear of Mike Andes. And we were right down our location as of last year was right, literally like 2 minutes away from his first shop there. So yeah, I passed it every day. Like I knew they were successful because I've seen them, for
Yep.
the past, like 7 years of trucks just built. They had like one truck and now they have, 15 there. I'm like, man, whatever this guy's doing is working. But I had no idea how big he actually was and successful until I started watching the YouTube. Wow, this kid's genius. Yeah.
That's so funny. Because if you're someone watching online, you just assume everyone would know, but it's cool to know, like, in reality,
Yeah,
there's still hundreds of other businesses around, which
there
I
is.
think is good because I feel like a lot of people who watch online who are growing their business, if they start out watching it, it can be a little more intimidating.
It can. I would agree 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then you said you then found EOS implementers.
I have. Well, not implement. We are still in the process of implementing ourselves, but I
Hmm.
found traction, the book traction. Actually, in a mastermind group now, Green Industry Mastermind. So that's been very helpful. Went to Detroit last year, or yeah, it was last year. Kind of went through, $6 million company and walked through and all that and saw how it was operating. Yeah, slowly implementing that. I might hire an implementer. It's very
Hmm.
complicated, but we're getting there. We're nailing it down step by step.
And where
But
do you think you fall? What are you as in the EOS model?
I'm the visionary for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't work in the field. I haven't worked in the field the past like 2 years, and I'm just kind of guiding everybody to
Hmm.
where I want the business to go, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I took the test. I was in 8992, so I was a hardcore implementer.
Oh wow, good. Yeah, I'm not an implementer. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Forget what the exact scores was, but it was a visionary. Yeah, and I have hired a COO. She is now Gabby, and she's definitely the implementer. So
And did you find her through EOS or how did you find her?
I just got lucky. One of my best friends I've known since third grade. Who's been dating her for a while. I was like, she's come in for an interview because she had some experience managing. What was it, like a healthcare service? Something managed a good,
Hmm.
portion of healthcare. I think it was a laundry system and cleaner. Not 100% sure what it was, but yeah,
Hmm.
come in for an interview, talk with her. I was like, yeah, she's very smart. Gave her a chance. And yeah, I'm glad I did. It's the best move that I've ever made. So
That's awesome. So let's go back to when you realized you need these systems. What were the
uh,
first systems you put into place? What were the things that were like, oh my God, I need to systematize that now?
it was job or scheduling because I was literally just had a calendar on my desk and just
Hmm.
writing everything out. So that was the first system was that and actually keep track of people's hours. I mean, at one point they were just texting me hours, and who knows if it was even correct, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
kind of did the math on it, but yeah. So that was the first system I put in place was routing, scheduling, and all that. And then
And
I
what do
already
you,
had invoices.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I said I already had invoices played through QuickBooks, so there's
Yeah.
kind of a system. It wasn't set in stone, but I had a system for that
And
already.
how many hours a week do you think that saved you just
Oh,
implementing the scheduling in Jobber?
I don't even know, probably like good 20 hours a week, if not more, phone calls and everything, maybe even 30. I mean, it was insane. I get calls from, 6 in the morning start time all the way to 8 at night, people calling out, people in jail, collect
Mhm.
phone call from an employee that went, yeah, it's insane. So
Yeah.
I've been through it.
Now, when you had that, because that obviously opened up your schedule a ton, did you have a reaction of like, what do I do with my time now? Or did you have other things that you were able to immediately fill your time with?
I did, yeah, and then I had a good blue shirt coaching. Kyle Gillette, his name was. I went through it. He kind of directed me in two other directions of what I could kind of focus my time on, which was, kind of expanding what the next steps were. So I started creating a business plan for that and how to get out of my house and, people coming to my house nonstop, 20, it seemed like 24 hours a day, but yeah, so focused on something else. I can't remember exactly what it was after that, but it probably was coming up with a business plan to be able to,
Mhm.
expand and grow further.
Cool. And
Yeah.
then what do you think is going to be the biggest hurdle then this upcoming year? Like, what do you still have on the plate if I need to conquer that problem?
Cash flow. Cash flow is the biggest hurdle because we work for a lot of commercial properties. And as you probably know too, they take forever to pay, 30, 60, 90 days out. So that's always a huge issue. But got a game plan. I think that'll hopefully work. We're trying to get like more residential customers, kind of move towards that. Cards on files, right? So that way that'll help with the help kind of alleviate the stress. And yeah, we put late fees on, all commercial properties, not that they seem to care, but yeah, so that if I can conquer that hurdle and build up a huge nest egg, we'll be great. So
And what does your customer base split look like between residential and commercial? What percentage?
about 85 at the moment. It was about 95. So
Commercial?
85 commercial. Yeah,
Gotcha. Now,
yeah.
what do you want to change that percentage or do you like it where it is?
I would like to change it. Be like half and half would be good, just for
Mhm.
cash flow reasons. Would be great. So I'm trying to build up the landscaping to, get to 1 million this year in just revenue just on that side. And the goal is to have, a good 80% of that be residential. But there are a lot of property management. We're waiting on a contract from one that I think are 80 properties, right?
Mhm.
Through one property management company. I can't turn that down, but the cash flow is going to be horrible. Waiting for all that money to come in, sending out 80 bills every month. They
Yeah.
won't put credit card on files. It's going to be a
So
nightmare.
I know you mentioned that you have general managers for your different divisions. Now, were
Yeah.
you doing that before you realized you needed systems, or was that part of what you realized you needed to start doing?
That was part of what I realized what I need to start doing. I was the general manager basically for all three divisions. So we've had it going for a while, those three divisions, but they were all kind of intertwined. So I'd have people from the landscaping side doing handyman work, which is a nightmare. You could say they're totally two different skills. Or building a fence, which can work out somewhat.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was doing everything. So and then finally found, EOS, I think led me into that right direction of, hey, I need people in different seats and the right
Hmm.
seats people. And kind of, yeah, this year alone, I think I've, let go of some people in the wrong seats and finally have a very, very stable foundation for the first time in my life of business that we can grow off of. So
Yeah.
excited for it.
And how did you find these general managers? Was it all people already in your company, or did you hire out for this?
Hired out for it and then moved them up. Generally went into, so for the handyman division, for instance, hired them as a handyman, wanted them to learn the ropes from the ground up while I still managed it, and then brought them up.
Mhm.
So, and then one was a friend that I've known since third grade. He's been with me since the beginning. He took over the carpentry side, and he was kind of doing the handyman helping me as well with that. And the landscaping general manager, I had one person in last year that worked for the company for a while. I brought him up in it, but unfortunately didn't end up working out
Mhm.
as of recently. And then we brought, I think 2 weeks ago, brought someone else up, and we're doing fantastic so far. So
Okay. And you
yeah,
were a bit established at the time you made this change. Obviously, you weren't like a 200,000.
yeah.
What was the reaction from your team to all these changes?
A lot of them. I mean, the people I had at the time, now that I think about it, pretty much all quit. So I assume it wasn't great, and then I found out a lot that people were stealing gas. I mean, one month it was like $8,000 gas, but when generally, even now, I have more employees. It's only like 3 grand, right? So
Yep.
there's something really wrong there. So I found a lot of discrepancies in it. People just ended up quitting or ended up letting it go.
Hmm.
So it made a huge difference, and a lot of people don't like it.
It's so funny. I always talk about when we make changes in the company. Like, for example, last year we instituted an extremely strict late policy because we had
Yeah,
people showing up late every single week. Then all of a
right.
sudden, you fire two people. No one's late anymore.
Right, it works.
What happened? Everyone's on time now.
Right.
That's funny. So was using the EOS and the coaching, was that really how you built out these management positions and figured out like what should these consist of, who should be doing them?
Yep, it was. I mean, it gave me a starting point. I'm still learning, obviously, as we go. And I had someone in the wrong seat on the landscape division for a while. It took me a while to kind of realize that and open my eyes up to that. But yeah, that was kind of the general, you know, general beginning of it.
And what are the responsibilities of each of the managers? Like over the overview, like scheduling, managing, like what are they doing exactly?
Yeah, they're doing scheduling, managing. Some of them I have doing estimates. We don't have an estimator full time because we have three different divisions. So it's really hard to train one person. I'm really the only one that can do estimates for all three divisions.
Hmm.
So they are kind of stepping in doing estimates as needed. And then we just hired a sales manager that kind of goes in. I'm trying to teach them everything I know for the estimates, but generally it's just scheduling, quality of work, managing, communicating with customers as needed.
So have you mainly just become the admin office side? Obviously, still doing some estimates since they can't do
Yeah,
all of
not
them,
a
but is that really your role now?
Nope, I passed on the admin. Really, my role is just visionary in just building this company. I mean, yeah, I passed on the admin role. I don't do any invoicing. It's
Hmm.
hard to let go. So sometimes I'll step in if I see we're behind and do stuff right, or I'll check on, it's hard with something you built to not, be involved in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can catch me sometimes writing up an estimate or sending, notice it on QuickBook. Hey, you need to pay this now because I know
Yep.
cash flow. Basically, I'm just controlling the money and building the business. I haven't let go completely
Hmm.
of the control of the money, like transferring from accounts and everything. And
Awesome.
then larger projects on the carpentry side, I do meet with the customers on that because that is, hundreds of thousands of dollar job kind of unmarked territory. So I want to make sure that goes right.
And then how did it affect your profits, like your profit percentage,
Yeah,
making these changes and
it
having to
dropped.
basically do less work?
Yeah, I mean, it dropped a little bit, but I mean, it's at the same time we're growing. So I kind
Hmm.
of expected that. I think we're at 12% last year, which is
Hmm.
great. But I mean, we grew so much, and I got a warehouse, got an office, so it was to be expected. So hopefully this year, that's kind of what I've worked on is raise it, try to get it up to 15, 20 would be the ideal range. But on larger scale jobs, I mean, it could be a lot less. You can still make a fortune on it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And then what would you say is the purpose of each arm of your business? Like, for example, is the landscaping just focused on making sure we have consistency? Is like the handyman where the real money is? What does it look like
yeah.
and why?
So landscaping is consistency is what I'm trying to build that out to. Is have got to be our bread and butter monthly income coming in with contracts. Handyman is just kind of extra work that comes through carpentry.
Hmm.
Carpentry is where the real money's at, and kind of the bulk of our business.
Hmm.
I'm trying to change that to where it's kind of all equal. At least the carpentry, be up there, and then the landscaping kind of match the carpentry would be the goal. Don't know if we'll ever get there, but that's kind of the goal. So
Hmm. And then I know, so we had from personal experience when
yeah,
we, at the beginning of the year, we were growing a lot as well, but we actually, if anything, I overhired. So I actually
right,
created a bunch of positions that do need to be filled, but
yeah,
probably didn't need to be filled at the time. Do you feel like you're in that, or I know you're a sole proprietor. I'm actually in a partnership.
yeah.
But do you feel like you have all the seats that need to be filled right now filled, or do you have a couple that you're filling now for the growth? What's that look like?
I feel like we have every seat that needs to be filled. We just have a sales manager that we just brought on a month ago, and I think that was the only seat that didn't need to be filled. That we didn't have filled, but I think we're good at the moment. So we might overhire on labor, which is not a bad thing. We could always let go as needed, but
Yep.
yeah,
Cool. And are you 1099ing some of these guys, or is it all W-2?
all W-2s and then cost a fortune.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, so let's talk about the next 5 years, because I know
Okay.
you said you already have your plan out for this year. It's really just cash flow is your biggest issue.
Yeah.
Over the next 5 years, though, let's say I snapped my fingers and you did everything you were supposed to. You didn't
Right.
procrastinate. You just did
Yeah.
everything you had to do. What does your business look like in 5 years?
So I'd have three separate locations as kind of the goal there. So we want to kind of copy and paste, kind of similar to what Mike Andes is doing, but not franchise it, right? Excuse me. So I have three separate locations, have kind of a big, general center where receptionist and all that, so we would deal with all the receptionist end of thing. We are slowly moving into this year. The goal is, don't know if I'll get it, is to buy a house under a separate company. And
Hmm.
so putting that in an asset, and we're kind of creating our own customers in a sense. So we charge them, $300 a month for landscaping, add that onto the rent and handyman work. It could be great. Then we could sell and flip it, acquire assets. So that would be the goal, to have like 4 or 5 properties, under the separate LLC that we kind of Ground Busters manages and whatnot, and does repairs on it, and have about three or so locations.
Okay. And then why do you want to do that? Like, obviously, the money, but
Yeah,
you're going to have 3 locations, right?
yeah.
Another route would be just growing one location extremely large. What makes you want to go the route of, I want to do 3 locations?
Because I mean, we Bellingham is a decent sized town,
Yeah.
but I don't think we could totally get to where I envision us to be, which would be 10, 20, 30, $50 million company, right? I don't think we could fully do that here unless we specialize in something, the very special trade, which is not going to happen. So that's kind of the idea of it. And I want to build an empire for my family, and be able to decide, either let's sell it one day or just keep it going and pass it down. Who knows? But that's kind of the goal. So
And what is your main motivator? Is it the family? Money aside.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely the family and kind of building something that I could pass down. Generational wealth, I guess, is the goal. That my kids could survive and live great. So
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
I know we talked about cash flow being a hurdle for next year, but what do you think's going to be the biggest hurdles other than cash flow over the next 5 years?
I think just managing growth is going to be very difficult.
Mm.
It's all new territory that I've never encountered before. So managing the growth, cash flow is what always comes to mind. And even when you said that, I said you said not cash flow, but that's definitely there. And I think just building systems to be able to grow that large is going to be a very, very large hurdle to
Mhm.
cross.
Cool. And then that's really all the questions I have for you, Mike. Do you have
Okay.
any questions for me, man?
No, not really. It's good to see you. I watched the Mike Andes a long time ago thing with you. So cool. It was good to see you. And I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you asking all my questions. It's really cool to have someone else who is at a higher level of business. A lot of the people that I
Yeah.
do interview, they are more at that like 200, 200, $300,000 range.
Right.
So it is really cool. And you've definitely grown quick. I mean, 5 years and you're already past 1 million. Like, that's phenomenal.
Right. Thank you.
What would you
Uh,
attribute that to?
I would say just persistence. I mean, I work, sun up, sun down. Even now, as a visionary, I'm still working when I get home. It's just, I think, just persistence and ambition.
Yeah.
I want to be be very big at what I do and be the best at what I do. So uh, I think that's what it contributes to. So what it comes
You,
down to is that.
you're definitely consistent, man, because usually when I talk to people who have been doing something for 5 years with no
Right.
systems, their
Yeah.
business is not your size.
Exactly. Yeah. And I learned that. Yeah. That's like a year and a half ago. It's like, if I'm going to grow this where I want to, gotta have systems. So
Yeah.
anybody out there create systems, sooner the better. It'll definitely help you tremendously.